Hello, hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. Excuse me. We're gonna check back in on, I assume, Asterion and Protag-kun after that escapade in the basement. Finding a lack of the coveted leftovers, a man must rise up to the challenge. After a midshift snack for you and Asterion, you start work on the most divine of all foods, bread. Gaze your finger over a heaping cup of flour to rid it of excess. Less than a spoonful of salt, water and yeast mixed together to bring it back to life. Each ingredient in its rightful quantity and proper place. Mix it all, first uneven lumps, then half mixed strings. Sticky enough to form a web from index to thumb, firm enough to be plucked. Keep mixing, it'll stay between your fingers, like a memory of the times when our ancestors had webbed hands. Sweat drips from your forehead, struggle with a towel to wipe it. Leave a string of dough on it. Wait, let the bread rise, knead it, grab its edge and fold it over its 4, 8, 12, 16 times. Let it sleep inside a basin. It takes a while for the bread to rise enough to push off the lid, but surely enough, the time comes, a sharp sense of alcohol rise up. Knead it. Feel as it resists against your grasp until it's been folded in on itself into a neat, smooth ball, almost bursting at the seams. Knead and rest until it's ready. However many times it takes. There is something divine in all the stages of baking. The smoothness of flour, the diminutive heart of heat of activated yeast, the eye-watering scent of alcoholic fermentation. Chief among them is the aroma of bread in the oven and the joy of sharing it. I love that this character loves bread as much as I do. Just regular bread, you know. I typically like going to like an Asian bakery and getting a nice loaf of milk bread, you know, and then I'll just like eat that by itself, you know, it doesn't need to be like toasted. I don't need like jelly, nothing, just the bread by itself. It's delicious. It doesn't need anything else. It stands on its own. Look up. There's someone on the sofa. Your servant, roommate, business partner, dear friend, a man's mind in the body of a hybrid. There's something divine in the eyes, in yours, in his, in the eyes of mankind and all the beautiful, human-like beasts with which our empire was built. It hasn't been long since you met this man called Asterion, but the cadence of his voice, the reverence in his words, the shift in his face, by now there may be familiarity. His moods are clear in your mind's eye. At times you might even find yourself anticipating the next step of his dance. What a pageant ritual this is. Cooking for the Minotaur of legend, while he broods, his rough fingers graze and tap away at the table until he finds an issue he can't resolve. His posture goes rigid, and you know well to check on him. It happens every 20 minutes. 20 minutes. It fits enough with the dough's rest time. He's quiet now, more than when you left him. Whatever attempt at extracting some truth is met with a disoriented, yes, a grunt. Give him time. The both of you have it in plenty, after all. Go back to your pagan ritual of kneading dough for the brooding man. Be dutiful. There is something divine at play in cooking, in mankind's eyes and hands. Should fortune smile, you too will carry the divinity in yourself. Let time pass, eat and drink. Let the man rest. His heart dances to its own odd rhythm. Is this what you were after, I wonder? Why did you, master of masters, come to this sorry desert? Here the Lord may summon diamonds at his fingertips, but it is not why you were enticed to own this land. Perhaps this is what you were after, a realm where a man may conduct the pagan ritual of finding a kindred spirit. There is something divine in providing grace to an ailing soul. And so you must cook while he rests. You are the master, and for this silent afternoon, he is your guest. Slave away at the oven, open the wine, pour its contents in your finest glass, call the man to feast even if his appetite is lacking. He eats in silence. You hum and tap your feet to a beat only God knows. You exchange glances and ponder how his eyes always seem too wet. Asterion's nostrils flare as he lets out all the old, stagnant air accumulated in his lungs. His shoulders droop as a shiver crawls up to his spine, leaving a trail of hairs standing up. His chest thrums a bassy rumble, hovers straps against the floor. You feel his voice. His voice 5 beats before it arrives.
Well, I don't have it in me to pretend anymore.
What do you mean?
I don't deserve any of this.
The Minotaur looks through you, hazy eyes, tired and fearless. I'm afraid I don't get it. He parts his mouth and draws a breath. And from your place across the dinner table, you can hear a wheezing. He parts his lips but the tongue is just as dry. Cups his hands together and rubs them for warmth. Today his voice is not as high-strung as usual. Each syllable flows without rhythm or dance.
I am a wretch, Mr. Josh, born and killed like one, sentenced by the gods for my cowardice.
The Minotaur pinches his forearm and twists. He bites his cheek, deforming it inward. Then his jaw grows tense as he tests his own limits.
When you left, I read on about me, my own story. Nothing I wasn't aware of, but it was interesting seeing it all laid bare. Would you care to hear it? All of it from the beast inside.
The Minotaur draws another struggling breath. He pinches his forearm harder, twists it, and it unlocks his throat once more. A drop of sweat runs down his forehead to his chin, then drips to his clothes. His ears and tail flick back and forth, as if hornets were floating around them. Between the two of you, there is only a short wooden table, about an arm's length. Its corners were once sharp, and now they are blunted by age and wear. You ignore his question. Instead, more pressing matters come to the surface. His twisting of his arms, the wheezing from his throat, the death-black fear consuming him. He is at your arm's reach, but the distance is insurmountable, and his question, whether or not he may proceed, is the wrong one entirely. You nod, and he begins.
I was sentenced to this land because of my cowardice. I allowed a man to kill me. My mother lost herself during my birth. Bringing a monster to life is reason enough to lose half of one's own mind. I had siblings, too many to count, although, as you may guess, my mother's body could not bear another after my birth. My guard was my friend. His name was Fronios. I don't know. I was not allowed to work, but I made myself useful. My father, king and highest priest of our faith, would take my blood and bring fertility to the people's crops. In the stories I read about, they called me a cannibal, and here's the truth, Mr. Josh. Indeed I was. One day, my 3 sisters tricked me into eating beef. I am half bull, after all. Doing so is just as much cannibalism as it would be eating a human. I had been taught to avoid it, but they deceived me. From the moment onwards, my life went to ruin. I was sent to the labyrinth, where I lived out the rest of my days. It was punishment, yes, but also a safety against whatever fears they had. It was also a duty. I was sent there to to tend to a temple and to keep a relic safe. I attended to the flames, Mr. Josh, for years. Once again, only once did it go out, and it was not out of negligence. Though, in retrospect, I wish it was so. I killed a holy man. His son brought me to him in the hopes I could put him out of his misery, and I did. But that was an unforgivable crime. I was stained with it. I took a life that Zeus himself had marked as everlasting. What could I have done after that? But the man's son told me sweet words. A redeemer would come, he said. So I waited, and he did arrive. He gave me life. Cowardice is what it was branded as. Ignoble disgrace.
Ignoble? Ignoble Knights? I'm still mad about how that deck was brought to the TCG, but you know how it is.
At best, for a prince to give him back to a blade with no valor fought. But in Hades I had peace. My brother, Andragos, defended me, and the judges of the dead cleared me of all charges. I enjoyed 3 years of freedom in Hades, because I was kidnapped to this realm to serve the sentence the gods saw fit. For centuries, the masters did as they pleased, until one saw fit to end my trials. I am rotten, Mr. Josh. When I'm wounded, that's what leaves me. Rot and decay. I am dead. I know what will happen. You don't have to lie to yourself about who and what I am. Neither do you have to deceive me or prolong it, out of kindness. You will grow tired of me, as all do eventually. I do not have it in me to be a toy talked to like a man. You have shown yourself to be kind, more than most masters, but I know that it's only a matter of time until you grow bored and see that it's foolish to take care of a slave for yourself. That anticipation, the tension, I cannot bear it. Pain, on the other hand, I have mastered. So please, let's end this charade. I cannot bear it any longer. Do as you please with me.
You have come quite a way in your journey, kind master. Inherited an old treasure of humanity, investigated its inner workings, healed the Keeper, overcame the snake's allure, welcomed wanderers, both virtuous and unsightly. And yet, it did not cost you much. Your actions were small and unexceptional. You did not bleed or toil for it. But goodness does not always come of blood or sweat. Sometimes doing the decent thing when faced with infinite temptations is noteworthy enough to be heroic. Don't look at those saves. Don't look at those. Stop. No. You could have given in to your base urges. To become a man, a boy sacrifices part of his potential to harm. Those small, bidden ideas that grit your teeth, decisions. None of this makes sense to me. What? What does any of this mean? Fuck. I hate that my problem is I don't understand half these statements. I kind of hate that. Everyone's gonna make fun of me. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, which one of these would cheer him up. But, like, I don't know. Because I don't know what any of these mean. Fuck. You could have given in to your base urges. A newborn holds infinite possibilities for good and bad. But the boy sacrifices potential in his path to adulthood after all. As a man, his potential to harm is snipped away by all the choices weighing him down. To rise, kind master, and reveal yourself. So rise, kind master, and reveal yourself. I'm afraid you misunderstand who I am.
You are human.
So are you. Haven't we discussed this before? What are you asking of me? I refuse to do it. What you are asking of me, I refuse to, okay. Is it not a matter of what I am, or what a human is? It's about who I am. I have been kind to you, Asterion. We have not known each other for long, but I'm not just humoring you or making fun of you to call you my friend. Well, you want me to just end your doubts and hurt you? I don't know what previous masters might have done or how they acted, but for my part, I just don't have it in me. I won't hurt you. And I don't say this as an act of kindness or charity. It's just who I am. So if I have to be firm with you about anything, it should be this. No, I won't. Maybe you are right in the sense that the pain I can inflict on you is more bearable than the distress you feel. But I am not that man. I will not give up from what I believe is right. Being kind to you isn't a game. It's just basic. It's decent. It just is. Do you consider me a friend, Asterion? I realize this is a tricky question. The power I have over you is nothing short of absolute. But listen to what I said. I will not hurt you. This is not charity or mercy. It is the right thing, and I will stand by it, even if I have to shackle myself to do it. His breath hitches at the mention of shackle. But I must ask a question. What we have gone through so far, was all of it a master and servant going through the motions? Or was it you and I, Asterion and Mr. Josh? The Minotaur blinks and feels the velvet around them in the night before. When they embraced, how he forgot the sound of his own footsteps. You told me about the hotel's mission, to give a place to those who have nowhere to go. I am telling you right here, right now, unequivocally, that I swear by it. I will hold on to that mission. And you have nowhere else to go either, so this place should be a place for you too. I won't hurt you. The Minotaur's cheeks deforms as he bites onto it. He sinks his nails into his own forearm and drags them as if twisting his skin. He draws a breath.
O Lord of Guests, he thinks.
What devising? Devising? Okay. I don't need that tab. Phone. Okay. No, devising. Okay. Not devising. Okay. Shut up. What devising sent this man to me? Fates is yet another of the trials devised to break me. Or Lady Hestia have you taken pity on me one last time? Or was it your grace, earth-shattering Poseidon, please give me a sign that this is not, and not yet another suffering I must endure. Wait, that this is true and not yet another suffering. Okay. We can do this together, but I must ask something of you. See me as myself, Mr. Josh, and not as master. Wasn't I telling you about making us into partners? What was it you told me? That the labyrinth wouldn't make it official? A few times you've referred to this whole land as the labyrinth, right? I suppose that's what it means, what it's meant to be called. But I don't see much of a labyrinth. This is clearly a hotel. This is the truth you built, and even if there are contracts and laws underneath it, it won't stop being a hotel. So, does it matter what it's called? What word we give it? Don't the facts take precedence? So fuck the labyrinth and its rules. We'll order the facts, and that makes reality. We don't need a contract to make things work. We just do it. Say you are my business partner. Go with it, and before long, everyone will believe it, because it's the truth. More of it than any piece of paper will ever be. If my word means something, if I can stick to my promise, then you can and will be my partner. The roaring, overpowering silence wrenches the Minotaur's heart, crushes his lungs, and washes away anything Mr. Josh could say. He coughs but doesn't notice it, and when he opens his eyes... Oh, okay. You aren't supposed to cry this early. You haven't even heard my speech. We will have all the time to catch up once I save you, little star. Now, don't go. You made quite a mess, but I know I know you better than you know yourself. I'll show their excellencies that what kind of person you were and are. By the weight of my words and the value of my promises, it won't be long before we are walking away from here, my brother. Your excellencies, may I begin? No, he did not cry. He did not anger the gods. He did not get shipped to 100 different labyrinths. And, during the night when his guard visited, he did not reject his request. Forsake the labyrinth. We can workshop the gods all the same. Pay their due respect in our own hearth, and build a shrine around it. If my words and promises ever carry weight, then come, Asterion, and I will take you as my brother. Yes. The Minotaur looks at you as if your face caught him off guard, just as reality itself roars back into his mind. He draws a breath, but this time it does not hitch. In fact, it overcomes all the stagnant air. A lungful as fresh as it brings a wetness to one's eye.
I am sorry for disrespect. I was inconsiderate during our conversation, Mr. Josh.
You have no reason to be sorry. I would appreciate it if you spoke to me with this frankness more often.
I am afraid I can't take another conversation like this so soon, Mr. Josh. This has been the hardest thing I've done since... let's not go there.
Indeed, no reason to poke those old memories.
I will need some time.
That is no issue. We have all the time in the world, right?
We do.
I remember you mentioning I reminded you of a friend. Is that the Phronios fellow you talked about earlier? The Minotaur looks down to his hands. His right settles on top of the left and scratches it, his nails digging as if trying to unearth his veins. Am I allowed to ask why I remind you of him?
You are the master. Of course you are.
Please stop that. I am a person. Just treat me like one. None of this is about orders. Master this, master that. If you don't want to answer, it's fine. That's the end of it.
It's because of things like this that you remind me of him. He was my guard. That was his official role. But in truth, he was my friend and playmate first. He was assigned to me when we were both children. The way you talk, the way you speak. You disregard the hierarchy. The way you look at me, I have caught myself thinking as if you were him.
If Phronios had been a master, would he have been like the others? Would he have harmed you?
No. There is nothing in the world I am more certain of than that.
Why are you so sure he wouldn't do it?
He wasn't that kind of man. It never crossed his mind.
Asterion knocks his knuckles on the wooden table. He licks his lips, and this time his tongue leaves a sheen of saliva. His eyes alternate from looking at you and deliberate, drawn-out blinks. He draws a breath, then lays both of his hands on the table. He breathes out, and his arms itch a bit further. It's such a small distance, no more than an arm's length. In fact, it is almost cramped, as if you had to contain yourself to the nook of the room. You raise your hand and inch off the table. It feels light, not at all awkward. The Minotaur gives it a brief glance, a deliberate blink, a long exhale. You lay it over his. The veins pop on the back of his hand. You could trace them with your fingers, following the short fur's direction. It's cold and sweaty, but not badly so. Your warmth mustn't be unwelcome. In fact, the Minotaur closes his eyes, breathes in, out, and droops his shoulders. The touch lingers only for a short while, and time demands his due. You let it go before overstaying your welcome. I'll end the part here, so I'll see you around, everyone.